turn back off?
She's going on Monday, but she's isolating for, cessation of the outage.
Exactly. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the public to the April meeting of the Brent Knoll Parish Council. We have some public speakers to address us.
Mark Gibson would like to say a few words, first of all.
Hi, mate. I'll be as quick as I can, councillors, because I know you've got far more important things to discuss this evening. I came straight to you, I think in January, with regards to our planning application for 3 holiday lodges. All the consultees were happy. There were no objections with the. Thank you very much for your support and indeed the support of Lymsham Parish Council as well. One exception, the Environment Agency. They objected not on the substantive plans, but on the grounds that we had not submitted in their words, an adequate flood risk assessment. Previously, as I said, we had consulted with the Environment Agency, we had followed their advice. It seems that the goalposts have changed a little bit. And they now seem to want us to take into account the worst possible scenario, however remote, and produce a new flood risk assessment. Trying to speak to the Environment Agency is very, very difficult. We have managed to sort of do so, and we have produced a new flood risk assessment. Essentially, the Environment Agency wants us to take into account a flood risk where the lodges are located, 1 in 200 year event, plus 30% uplift for global warming, and now, and this is a new thing, also assume that the flood defences fail all the way along Breen, Barrow, Burnham, and what they now term as a breach event. So essentially the worst possible scenario over the next 200 years. The chances of this statistically actually happening is less than 1%. Nevertheless, they seem to want us to accommodate that. We have done a new flood risk assessment. The planning officer, Amelia Elve, has been to the site. She seemed happy, but one of the things that they were concerned with required us to change the red line outline of where the planning application is, and now the need to reconsult. Although the substantive area where the lodges are doesn't change at all. They have been submitted to her and to the planning portal, but they've not yet arrived on the planning portal. But her view was that she would give 3 weeks for a reconsultation, and that's the reason I'm here now, because that may not fall in time for your meetings. 3 holiday lodges. What we've done, what we've changed in the design is to raise the finished floor level up a little bit higher to accommodate the worst possible scenario. We've also created an upstairs bedroom, which would be a place of refuge in the event of the worst case scenario. It's a kind of extra layer of protection because we're already setting it up higher. But in the words, when we did consult with the Environment Agency this time, they said that a place of refuge upstairs would be, and I quote, agreeable. One of the, so it is an upstairs, as you can see there. Importantly though, it is still not visible from the road, it is not visible from any of our neighbours at all. So I can't see that that would have any impact there. One last point, which I think, Councillor, you raised, was the Environment Agency raised that in the event of evacuation being necessary, they would have to cross the footbridge over the Reen. They use the word narrow footbridge. It's actually this wide. So I kind of take some issue with that. Nevertheless, what we've done is we've changed the access through the farm access over the main bridge so that the cars would now park just behind the lodges, so they would not need to cross in the event of a necessary evacuation, although of course we would argue that there's a place of refuge, so in the worst case scenario they wouldn't need to evacuate. But if they did, they wouldn't need to cross a narrow footbridge. So we try in every point to address the concerns that the Environment Agency has raised. I think the scenario that they're asking us to design to effectively is very, very, very remote. But I think we have more than sufficiently addressed those points, in fact designed beyond that. So hopefully the new flood risk assessment has gone in, it is now with the planning officer, and will go no doubt shortly to the Environment Agency. Hopefully they will deem it acceptable on this occasion. One bonus of the new design is that we could now put solar panels on all the southerly facing roofs, so silver lining. This application is really important to us. It is hugely a part of maintaining the sort of financial viability of the farm. Without it, it gets tricky. So I've come here today because I want to explain to you the changes that we've made in direct response to the issues raised by the Environment Agency, even though it's very hard to have a two-way conversation with them directly. Hopefully we've addressed all those points, and hopefully I would politely again request the support of you, of the Council, with the revised plans. They should appear on the portal shortly. But I wanted to speak to you today just in case there wasn't another opportunity before the sort of reconsultation period elapsed.
Just to point out, it will probably be for the meeting that we have for the annual parish meeting. We should probably have to have a half an hour sort of planning session as we have done in the past.
If there's any questions though.
You say you put a bedroom up top. Where's your escape plan from the bedroom up top then? If something happens, you go up to the top of the roof.
Well, the idea is that the finished floor level, so you go up to decking around it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, that bedroom up there has got no escape route to it then.
You go from your finished floor level, so a flooding event, the worst case scenario, you've got that much water. Hopefully the lodges are already above that water line, but the Environment Agency would like you to have an evacuation point, so in the event of you couldn't safely get away, what you can do is go up to the upstairs and safely wait out the flood.
So what happens if there's a fire downstairs as well, that's caused by the flood? How are you going to get out of the bedroom if you put a bedroom upstairs?
Well,
surely there's got to be an escape route upstairs.
Well, there is a balcony.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So you've got a door up to a balcony.
Right,
that's it. That's all I want to check.
So
That's your escape route then.
Yeah.
That's it. But
You're not going to drown in the loft.
yeah, exactly.
Yes,
That's what I'm trying to get at, because when you said you put
you do a triple back and pike into the flood water at
that's
that
it.
point.
That's all I wanted, was a door up to the balcony. And then,
So, yes, there is a balcony outside. So if someone had to be rescued from that point, there would be a point outside it rather than hanging out of a skylight or something.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in and addressing us.
Thank you very much.
Take it up, sure. Let me know when it's on the agenda for the
Yes,
meeting.
I'll let you know when it gets on.
Thank you. Next, person I'd like to speak is Mrs. Driscoll from number 3, I believe. I'd like to say something to us.
Hi, I'm Judy Driscoll and I live at number 3 The Willows, which is the end house down here. And I'd like to talk to you about a conversation I had with National Grid yesterday. So the issue starts months back when, I don't know whether it's a transformer, what it is at the top of the poles, I don't know what they call it, but let's call it the transformer for now, sparked, banged, it was quite scary, and fire ran down the ivy, which, to be fair, they regularly trim. It was quite scary, and it was seen by myself, Gary Cabell, and Alan Cook. I ran upstairs to make sure there were no children in the playground because it was very close. The wind was taking the sparks to the... So that's what it started. I then spoke to a couple of people and was told it was going to be fenced off and it was going to be mended and it would all be part of when we did the shop. So I've done nothing since. I think I may have talked to Bob once or twice. Bob, have I? I think I mentioned it to you once or twice. Everyone talks to Bob about everything because he's so well known, so I probably have. I had a call yesterday because they come into our garden to cut the ivy and do various things. So the guy called and I just said, off the cuff, can I be assured that we're not going to have anything like this again? Because it was scary, it wasn't safe, and sparks flying around in the air and coming down the ivy isn't right. Now, some years ago, I had to ring Bob again because boys were climbing up the poles and they put like a barbed wire halfway up the poles, and that's worked and it's been absolutely fine. We haven't had a problem since. So when I asked them if they would assure me it wouldn't happen again, they said, Mrs. Driscoll, and they were not very happy about it, we can assure you we have done everything, fortunately I have shorthand, to move to a safe, modern ground unit. The current thing is old, the ivy regularly has to be cut back, but the parish have refused us. We have been negotiating with them for over a year. So I phoned Bob straight away, as everyone does, because you've got the number on speed dial, and he said to me, basically, we were negotiating, and National Grid didn't tell me this, but they said they talked about putting a ground unit near there, and they had been discussed amongst you, and there were objections, and therefore that happened. So I've spoken to the Keels, the Butts, the Cavills, and Alan Cook. And I'm just asking why none of us were included in the consultation, because they have said, National Grid said, this unit's old. If we were to put it on the ground and have a modern unit, everyone would be better off. And I can't see why they didn't come up with the idea to move the modern unit down to the bottom of the fence. Sorry, can I just finish and then take a question?
Yeah.
Sorry. Right. So, why weren't we talked to down here, as several of my neighbours asking? And secondly, if National Grid thought that a ground unit was best, wherever they were going to site it, why did we refuse it? Sorry, Colin, can I
Ask you a question.
question?
Comment.
But from what I understand, I think there's some confusion here between what was going to be proposed here and what is actually being done down there. The transformer, I understand, that's mounted at this moment is exceedingly old, it's oil filled and it gets hot. You've probably smelt it during this hot summer months.
No,
you must
never
have done.
smelt it. Sorry, never
Well,
smelt it.
then I have
Have
and
you?
commented on
No, I
it several
haven't. Maybe
times.
the wind hasn't blown in our
But as regards changing that transformer or updating it, which I understand they're going to do, is nothing to do with the parish council. It is purely National Grid's work that they're doing to rectify an outstanding old transformer that needs updating. So
So have they lied to me?
I'm not
Because I
saying
will go back to them.
I'm not saying they lied to you, I'm saying that this is what we understand is happening. That is not part. The work they're doing down there and the work they're doing over the road is nothing to do with what we are having done here. It is purely their own requirement to make sure that you've got a safe supply in the corner of that area where the old one is presently suited. Whether they mount one high up or whether they mount one low down is purely a National Grid decision. But I understand, from what I understand, it's still going to be mounted at high level. But I don't know.
I mean, it's
That's-
not a
that's all
problem
I
to
know.
us as long as it's safe. But they told me that the safest, this gentleman who I will go back to, because in my previous job, that was my job, to go back to people and correct things, that he told me specifically, Colin, that the reason that it was not being dealt with and the reason he couldn't assure me it was safe and wouldn't happen again was because, and that's why I phoned Bob, the parish council had refused
No,
a ground unit.
no, that's totally incorrect.
Okay?
The National Grid have never discussed that end of the project at all,
No.
actually. They just simply told us there was an issue and they will be dealing with that and trying to link it up with what we're doing around the toilet block. That was the extent of our involvement in it, actually. to be honest.
I'm happy to go back to them. I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
Andrew?
I would suggest when you go back to them, ask them to send the minutes of that meeting they had with us.
Okay?
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
because the councillors are saying no minutes exist.
Okay.
So it's not.
No minutes exist
No
to
minutes
say
exist. No meeting took place.
what? To say that we refuse that.
There's
We
never
refuse
been, our minutes will show that there has never been a discussion between National Grid and this council about what they are providing in the corner of the field.
So are the council not concerned because it blew up?
The council has no accountability or responsibility for it.
It is a
But it's
national...
right by a children's playground, so
No,
I
no,
would have
it's-
thought.
How long has it been there? Probably 50 years or more.
Yes, it doesn't matter, does it?
Well,
how long
no,
it's been
I
there?
appreciate what you're saying, but the replacement, that transformer, as I've tried to say, has if you've been in the ground, in the hot weather, it smells like bilio.
Okay,
Trust me, and I have commented on it in the
Okay.
past. But it is not, it's a National Grid to replace that transformer, which I understand they are going to do. That's why we're having the trees taken down
No.
to accommodate.
we're having the
The
trees
new
taken
work.
down because they've got ash dieback.
But it's all part of the, hopefully, the regeneration of that area to make it safe. That's what I'm trying to say. But it is a National Grid problem, and we have not been consulted on that, and I think Bob will.
I think, I'm
Confirm.
sorry, but I need to make the observation that it is a play park with children around, and National Grid would not give me assurance, not trying to be obstructive, would not give me assurance that it wasn't going to happen again, which is why I phoned Bob. Sorry, Bob.
Was only going to sound, what Colin said is right, that there, as I mentioned to you on the phone conversation, there was a conversation about a transformer elsewhere, but that was to do with the rerouting of the power at the front.
Yeah.
National Grid have never raised any questions to us about any safety issues with what was at the end of the,
Okay.
of the green. And I think it would be wrong for him to give you the impression that there has been a discussion about the safety of that and the fact that it should be replaced with something better. What we were expecting was that we were told by them that they'd had this issue that had cropped up and that they were going to try and tandem the works together rather than do the work separately, but the two things weren't linked.
Okay. Sorry.
Sorry, would you just remind me your comment on the ivy? Just I think I may have misheard it, but did you
Yes.
say there was conversations about ivy and
The ivy grows up the poles
Yeah.
regularly, you can see it there now.
yeah,
But National Grid do regularly come around and cut it back. They come into our garden, use ladders from both sides and cut it back.
Yep.
We've never had a problem before. We don't have a problem, we didn't have a problem at all until it sparked, blew, banged and, you know, it just wasn't good. And so my reason for coming today, and I said to Bob, is that yesterday when they couldn't give me assurance that it wouldn't happen again, and they blamed the parish council. So I said to Bob, I feel I have to come to say something.
I'm sure National Grid take every safety aspect into consideration with a project like this,
Yeah.
and they take the area that it's going to be sited and everything else relevant to that. So I
Okay,
think
yeah,
your
okay.
fears are unjustified.
Sorry, okay.
No, just a question. What is it you think we need to do as a parish council?
No, I don't think you need to do anything as parish council. I just wanted to make you aware that when I asked them if they could assure me that it wouldn't happen again for safety, they actually said was, I took it in shorthand, that, you know, they said, we will give you, they said, we can assure you, Mrs. Driscoll, we have done everything to move to a safe, modern ground unit. The present one is old, the ivy has to be regularly cut back, but the parish have refused. Now when someone says like something like that to you, you pick the phone.
Go on.
If that transformer is not changed or upgraded, it will happen again. It's bound to now because it's failed once. Because as I've said, it's oil filled and it gets really hot because of the loads that are put on it and the external temperatures. It's a very old transformer. If they leave it, then undoubtedly, if it's happened once, it can happen again.
I think
So
that's why
the
he
important
avoided
thing
the
is-
answering me, Colin.
Sorry?
I think that's why he avoided answering me.
No, but we understood, correct me if I'm wrong, that it was all part of an upgrade that they were doing because they had identified a fault with that transformer.
Okay.
So what they were going to do, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Bob and Owen and everybody else, they were going to do that work, upgrade the transformer, they were going to do the cabling work for us, they were going to install our new transformer here for the shop purposes,
Yeah.
and then they were going to upgrade the services in the field where they are proposing to build some infill housing directly opposite here. You've probably seen where they've knocked down part of a house, and there are old transformers mounted high up a pole, just like that. All that will go. And so that's what we were told was going to happen at the time. There was going to be an extensive upgrade because of that.
So what do we do now? I mean, do I go back and say, it's going to happen again, what are you doing about it? Or, I mean...
If I were you, I think I'd be asking for some security, some safety, confirmations from them that when they leave this site, you have a perfectly good, safe transformer there. And you're entitled to ask them to that, for that.
I am entitled, but don't the parish council want to ask that because it's
Well,
on the...
we will.
It's in the playground.
Believe you me, we
I mean,
will.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm fine. I just felt, you didn't, Bob, you didn't know that, did you, that they were saying that? You didn't know they were putting it back to the parish council, and so therefore I said I'd come and tell you myself.
I was just going to say, it might be worth, when you speak back to them, to say you've been to this meeting
Yes,
and presented the conversation and that it's news to everybody here.
yes, I will, and I'm
Yeah.
happy to do that, but I just felt that people should know.
I just
Sorry
thank
to
you
have taken your time.
No, thank you for taking the time. I think it's a very important matter, and that you've spent some time to discuss it with us. So thank you.
Okay.
You could also point out to them, of course, that if they want to hear the content of this meeting, they can look at it on YouTube. So if they're not sure what's been said, they've only got to look at YouTube and watch it for 10 minutes, quarter of an hour, whatever, and they'll get everything they need from this conversation we've had this evening.
Okay, well, I'll have the conversation, and shall I feed back to Bob? Or who shall I feed back to? Colin?
So either of us, Bob or I.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Cheers, thank you.
Thank you very much.
No, that's all the speakers.
Thank you.
Got to go. Because he was here. So anyway, we move on.
We conclude the public session and we go into the main agenda. The first item on the agenda is to elect a chairman of the parish council. Do we have any nominations, please?
Mr Chairman, I'd like to propose Councillor Filmer to adopt the position of chairman, please.
Do we have a seconder? Thank you. Are there any other nominations?
I propose proposed, John.
The seconder?
I believe I'm not allowed to second myself, is that correct?
No.
Thank you.
We have one nomination. Is everyone in agreement with that? And it's
Show of hands,
Bob accepted that?
5, 6.
Bob, would you like to take your place?
Well done.
Bob will now sign the declaration of office, acceptance of office, to avoid a repeat of the Printergate saga that we had last year. So I'm asking Bob now to sign on camera, okay, his declaration of office. Thank you, Bob. And I will also sign as the officer of the council on the 3rd of April 2024. Are we all satisfied that that's been signed and is an accurate document? Yes. Thank you.
Can I thank you all for your support? I think it'd be fair to say a month ago I wasn't expected to be sat back here, but I would like to thank Malcolm very much for stepping up and keeping things going. Can I also thank all the members of the council who attended the, we had a sort of informal meeting a couple of weeks ago to talk through how things were working with the council, and part of that has seen the item later on the agenda, which is the new civility and respect policy which the council are looking at. Again, thank you to all members for working to get us onto a solid footing and hopefully starting from a new point for all of us and working forward together to take the council forward. Okay, if we move now on to apologies for absence.
Just David Knott and Jane Gray are the two that are missing. David is working and Jane is in hospital, very due to go into hospital.
Okay, thank you very much. Next item is declarations of interest. If I start, I've got my normal Somerset Council declaration of any items that come up relating to that, and also I need to declare my shareholding in the shop. Just to be clear, I've been advised that with the new issue of shares that have been taking place with the shop, that I no longer qualify for the need for the dispensation. So it is just a standard declaration as a member who has a shareholding in the shop. Any other comment?
Shop, please. One share.
Sure.
Lady?
Lady.
John?
Sure.
Thank you very much. Moving on then to the next item, which is the minutes of the meeting of the 6th of March. You've all had those circulated. Are there any amendments to those? If not, can I have a proposal that I should sign as a true and accurate record?
Propose that you sign them as a true and accurate record.
All those in favour that I do that, please show. That is clearly carried. Thank you.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes, John.
Can I just ask a quick question? The notes from the last March meeting as reported in the Brent Knoll News don't have a section detailing your resignation. Can I just ask why that is?
With no particular, I mean, that's, I don't know.
Can I pass that question to the clerk who writes those notes?
Sorry?
Can I
Come on,
pass
John.
that
Speak up,
question?
John. Speak up.
There's no need to be funny, I'm just asking a process.
Please don't mumble. Yes, I can hear what you're
I'm
saying.
not at school.
Okay. Speak up.
So I'm asking the same question to the clerk, but that part of the meeting, the parish meeting in March, in the Brent Knoll News, which is written by yourself,
Yes.
has no detail of the chair's resignation. Can I ask why that is?
Because it actually appears on the minutes. And it's the minutes of the legal document, not the notes from the Brent Knoll News. The Brent Knoll News is intended as a backup to the minutes. It's not intended to be a replacement for the minutes. Because clearly, as you can imagine, if I was to put the whole of the minutes in the Brent Knoll News, Bob would be complaining that I'm filling it up. I mean, the last minutes, for example, went to, I think it was 7 pages. So therefore, the legal situation is we put it on the website, we put the proper minutes on the website, so they're on there. The minutes are actually here, and they can be seen by anybody who requests a copy of them. That's the reason. No other reason. There was nothing untoward, no particular reason why it was withheld on that particular area. Okay?
Thank you.
I think as a general note, at the end of the notes of the Brent Knoll News, there's always the mention that it can be viewed on YouTube for anyone who wants to see the full process. Item 5 is planning matters. I don't believe
There are no planning matters, no.
Okay, which takes us then to the clerk's report.
Just a couple of things. We've got a very, very experienced clerk who's going to look after the council in June. I shall actually be having an operation during the May and June period. And Hazel Brinton, who's currently the clerk of Breen and Barrow and has formerly been the clerk of Cheddar Town Council, will be in this chair for the June meeting, and hopefully only the June meeting. With all the luck, it's only going to be one meeting. So, but it may be 2, just depending how things actually turn out in the end. But we have got at least got cover for that meeting. I'm going to save my item for later on the agenda.
Okay. Anything on the surgery report?
We had a couple of people come to surgery. There was a couple of one resident concerned about some of the parking around Cedar Close area and the problems associated with recycling collections, etc. And we pointed out to him that he could report that to the recycling waste management part of Somerset Council. And I think that was the only issue that he raised. I think that was it, really, wasn't it?
Yeah. The other lady raised some issues about drains, which
Yes.
we're taking up our report directly, and
That's
also
fine.
she was going to contact the council about tree maintenance in Manor Ride,
Yes.
whether they would like to cut the trees back.
Yeah.
But again, we've put her in touch with the department at the council and we'll deal with that. Okay, on to the working groups and footpaths.
Muddy. That's it. They're so muddy, there's nothing else to say.
Any other comments on footpaths? Nope. Highways. Any? Yes, 8.
Just complaining about the bridge again, Station Road, that's getting worse again, nothing's been done, past 12 months now. Also the corner of Burton Road, Station Road and Brent Street, when I reported it, obviously a day later they come out and put some cones around getting that lot where it collapsed. Well, nothing's been done about that, it's been like it now for 2 or 3 months. Nothing's been done. Well, we're in a serious situation where that is, for pavement, that lot, that should be rectified ASAP, it should be left around. I know council got the money, but they'd rather have that done than someone's death on or injury, serious injury. So, but that's it. And mainly potholes again around the village, or around, it's getting quite bad where it's all been flooded, where the water gets on the tarmac, it just rips it up, so. The roads are a bit of disgrace around here, that's all.
Colin?
Mr. Chairman, a bit of a vested interest. There is quite a large pothole developing at the top of Church Lane, directly opposite my drive, so I've got a bit of a vested interest, but it is getting worse, and it's obviously been washed out with the storms.
Just on that, Alan links into the drains as well, because that's constantly coming off that drain setback.
Yeah.
That one just floods every time we have rain now. So I think that's the main cause there.
What would you like me to obviously take those up again? Clearly, potholes.
To be honest, I can let you know both of those have actually been reported within the last week, because we did a bit of a circuit So there's a couple of others that got this at the opposite end, the other end of Church Lane, where you feed into Cedar Close Triangle. There's a block drain there,
Yeah.
so that's been recorded. The one at the bottom of the drive opposite Dolphin Cottage and the pothole that's outside Dolphin Cottage.
The question raised last time was the one that was sent back from the white lines, they were saying that one wasn't part of the mains. Apparently it was when it was first put in and the white lines crept forward, so I don't think they have that excuse.
Okay, no, we will certainly chase those up. Anything else on highways? Village Green, I think, was Tracy then subbed by David, so I don't know whether we've heard anything from David.
No, I haven't heard anything from David.
Do we know who's on for this coming month?
I think Andy is actually.
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
Oh, yeah, I'll do that.
Do you want me to send you? I'll send you a template.
Please.
It helps you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's Village Green. I don't believe has there been any. The audit and staffing group, just an update on that from the update in the last meeting. As you remember, I said that there had been a meeting of that, looking at a couple of issues that have been raised relating to a staffing matter. Reports have been sent to the two people who had raised those issues and also to the clerk, with no further action to take at this juncture. If we, buildings working group haven't met.
No.
Shop working group I don't believe was met in the last.
No.
So policy introduction and updates. Owen.
Basically, we have quite a lot of policies associated with this council. We have probably more than the average, I would say. But the thing about policies is they get out of date very quickly, and some of the policies we've got are going back to 2020. Mind you, that's better than many councils where you look at policies going back to 2015 since they were adopted. We've at least we're into 2020 with most of ours. So the most important one is, for this meeting, there are three here, is financial regulations. They need to be updated every year, ideally. And this will be a temporary updating because there are completely new financial regulations coming out later in the year. So this is just a temporary update until those new ones appear. I'm told around about September time.
Indeed.
So that's financial.
You said new ones are coming out from who and do not?
Well, they come out now, National Association of Local Councils, they work in conjunction with government departments. They have to be approved by SALC, and it just filters down basically, and then eventually parish councils get to approve them and adopt them. I don't have to adopt them. Just because now decide that that's a good agreement doesn't mean to say that we have necessarily to adopt it in full. We can take bits out of it if we wish to, and we can add bits if we wish to. The same as this particular policy here. But this is really a tie-over policy, really. So that's one, that's financial regulations. So do you want to take them one by one?
Yeah, so if we take the financial regulations one first, you've all had that circulated to you with the agenda. Were there any questions or that members had on those, or are they happy to re-adopt those for the forthcoming year? As Owen says, they will be up for further look at when the new ones come out. But if members have got nothing that they picked up that they wanted to review, can I have a proposal that we then adopt those as our continuing financial regulations for this year? Thank you, Colin and Malcolm. All those in favour, please show. That is unanimous. Thank you.
The second one, co-option policy. Obviously, we will be needing to co-opt a member of parish council to a member of parish council in due course. The policy we've got is the current one. We haven't altered it, apart from changing some of the information about from Sedgemoor to Somerset Council. But apart from that, it's the same policy. But because we're coming up to an co-option process, we thought it would be a good idea just to re-adopt the policy we have, just to make sure we're all happy with what it says, basically.
Again, members have had that circulated with the agenda. Is there any comment?
I know I'm happy to propose it.
Okay. So propose that it's adopted again, seconded by Andy. All those in favour, please show.
Okay.
That's unanimous as well.
And then the third one is a new document. It is one that is increasingly being used by parish councils, town councils, civility and respect policy. No doubt you'll have a chance to read it and make any observations or come with any observations that you think you might have on it. I think it's particularly pertinent after the informal meeting that we had a few weeks ago.
Colin?
I wonder whether, personally, I'd like a bit more time to look at that new policy, particularly as I think it also relates to some of the obligations that are in our media and communications policy, which I looked at today, and it was brought in like 2016, I think. So I think that they need, because there are obligations of councillors within our media policy that could well link across to this civility and respect policy. And I'd like to just make sure that they're both in tandem. And I'm happy to read them both and come back with suggestions or
So defer this to May, perhaps?
if possible, please, if everybody's happy with that.
Okay.
So if everyone's happy, we defer this one and review we'll look at this one and the media policy
At
and
the
the
same
meeting.
time, yes, please. Yeah.
And did I pick up from that, Colin, if we've got any feedback, to give it to you, and you'll combine that for the next one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there are things that you can put into a policy, there are things that we perhaps would like to put into a policy, but we
Yes.
can't.
Oh,
So we have to be guided by the parameters
Yes.
of what we can do and
Yeah.
what we can't do.
Yeah.
But even so, I think it's useful to have that bit of time to have a look at it and make sure you're happy with the contents.
Thank you, Andy.
The content, the way it goes at the moment, I think is on the right track, definitely.
Yeah.
I think it was reflected at the meeting.
Okay, so we have a proposal then that the item for the civility and respect policy is deferred to the next meeting and taken in conjunction with the media policy review.
Yeah.
All those in favour of that, please show.
Okay.
That's unanimous as
Well,
well.
we're done.
Thank you very much.
So that's my word.
Yes. Okay. We've got
Your report, Rob.
Right, so basically a quick update from Somerset Council. Obviously the ongoing financial position you're all well aware of in terms of Somerset. A couple of other items are ongoing. At our last meeting we had a bit of a briefing, as you'll remember, about potential developments between us and Burnham. Just currently there is a review going on of the local plan for the whole of Somerset, which will encompass our patch as well, but there's actually an urgent review that's being taken place into the Mendip plan because their district plan has been challenged and had to be resubmitted to be dealt with, so that's taken priority for that to be sorted because they were in effect sitting with no local plan that they could allocate properties against, which was then meaning potentially developers could come along and pick off sites that otherwise wouldn't have been appropriate. So that's slightly taken the lead in terms of what's happening on planning. You may have seen in the press that recently a government grant has been given to Somerset to buy a number of electric buses that will be running on the main sort of inter-town routes, again to reduce the sort of carbon footprint of the buses that are on offer. A quick reminder from Somerset that obviously elections are coming up in May. There is the new setup now that you do need to take with you your identification when you go to vote. So you need to have a personal identification as well as your polling card, and something that can identify that you are the person who you say you are. So that was introduced by the government for the elections and will count from this year onwards. And the final thing I was going to mention was that, again, we've had a grant from government relating to helping companies locally go green. There's £100,000 worth of grant to encourage businesses. If they've got ideas of how they can make themselves greener, they can apply for some grant funding to help them work their plans forward. So that's something that will be moving forward.
Did you say 150,000?
100,000.
100,000.
Yeah, and it's up to 150 eligible companies, they say there will be. So you can see it's not a huge amount of grant per company, but it's more to help them draw up the plans rather than to actually do the stuff itself. In terms of the finances, as I say, things are ongoing. We have set the balanced budget. We had a meeting today actually with the Chief Executive, and there are a significant number of people who have come forward for the voluntary redundancies. But you remember I mentioned we're still looking for a potential loss of between 1,000 and 1,300 full-time equivalent places. There have not been that number of redundancies come forward. There are quite a few what I call vacant posts, so posts that the council holds but haven't got people in those jobs at the moment. Every single one of those is being reviewed as to whether it is actually required or not, because obviously if you can delete a post, you don't need to make someone redundant. But that will still only take us about 2/3 of the way there, so there will be some difficult decisions coming forward in the next few months. But happy to take any questions if there are any others on Somerset matters. Okay. Which takes us on to the financial report, and Owen.
Obviously the statutory payment list for April 24, that was approved on 6th of March 2024, and that's our standard contractor payments, which are done by standing order, and it tends to be things like contractors, if there's any E.ON direct debits, if there's any water direct debits, which are not as it happens this month, and of course our SID movement service that we have provided by Stuart Nichols. So all of those tend to come under the realm of statutory payments. So now there's one matter which I sent out an email to you last night. We agreed to statutory payments last month, but unfortunately, two contractors don't send their New Year invoices until the end of March, ready for April. As a consequence, the figures are slightly different. In fact, Jason Mayer contract is slightly down, and Nichols is a bit up. So what I decided to do is bring it to the council, because for complete transparency, you just need to agree the fact that those figures are just marginally different to what we agreed at the statutory payments meeting last month. The main one is Stuart Nichols, which has gone up to £155